611, 1011 Hubble Drive. And just to, I think, later on, what Mr. Grill said about everybody shaking their heads, and some are shaking yes, some are shaking no, every time somebody brings up a research project, or I read this here, I read this there. Let's face it, we can all get a report from anywhere we want that's going to give us what we want it to say. So if you're for it, you're going to get all the reports that are showing you're for it. If you're going against it, you're going to get all the reports that are showing against it from whom, and very qualified places. Everything can be skewed. So just do your research and come to the best conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate? Excuse me, Ms. Hughes?
That's okay. Katie Hughes, 8965 Buckhorn Lake Road. But I want to state first that I'm speaking as a private citizen. I'm not the voice of the DDA. I'm just speaking of my own personal beliefs and opinions. So I just want to make sure that's out there. So it's interesting. I'm so happy. So many people have said this word, perception. At the beginning of the meeting, I was taking down some notes and things, and that's the first word that I wrote down. And so everybody's echoing this. I think, gosh, like you stole my thunder, but not really. That's just because we're all saying the same thing, and that's good too. So I've grown up in Holly. I've lived in McGill my whole life. Graduated from Holly High School, class of '96. Go Broncos! We've worked hard to change our image since the '90s. I remember when I was in school, we didn't have the best image, and it was hard to be proud about living here. People dogged on our town a lot. We're a more wholesome community now. I think that we've really grown. We've really changed. Now we're known as this quaint, charming, historic downtown. I kind of like that. I can say that's where I live. We want to attract people to Holly. We want them to invest in our town, something that might affect you and all of you. So people who invest here, they want to build homes here. We have a lot of lots that we'd love to see houses on. If there's houses on those lots, there's users on the water system that pay in, and then we all share this bond debt that's going to go down that much quicker when we've got more people in these homes. We want to send the kids to our excellent schools. We want them to open businesses here. So the perception of our community, that's something that we cultivate. So people, when they come to our town, they're visitors, they come here for this feeling. It's they're traveling from other communities to enjoy our parks, our lakes, our green spaces. They're going to shop in our stores. It's this feeling, this kind of up north feeling. So if we're opting in, if we're allowing marijuana, the industry, to infiltrate our community, that's going to change the perception of our town to other people from the outside. They're going to change their thoughts about us. We've worked so hard to create what we have already. So when you're thinking about this, this is not for our little community. Don't put a target on us. Don't eliminate all the progress that we've made in changing our image. This is not what we need for the Village of Holly. I would encourage you to let it lie, let it be. The other communities who have said, not right now, this is not the time to do this. So we argue about bike lanes, we argue about feeds of trash barrels, we are hot and heavy in debate about all these things. We should be so lucky that that's what we argue about. We don't argue about crime, corruption, vacant homes. We argue about what seems to be maybe petty things to other people. And that's a good thing. We're lucky. Let's keep it this way. So whenever you do vote, not tonight, but I would hope that you would remember what you were elected to do, who you were elected to represent. It's the entire community. Do what's best for the whole community. Personal opinions aside, you represent all of us, 6,000 plus. Do what's best for the whole community. Thanks.
Thank you. Do you have any more public comment?
Everybody's slow.
I would like to. Take 5.
Your reports.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You want to do reports?
Yeah, how about we get through that?
Yeah, we'll do
Okay.
that, and then we're gonna have to go into closed
Mr.
session.
Manager?
Yes, thank you. I'll make it brief. So we just went through our fireworks celebration last week. Happy to report, for those of you that were there, you saw them yourself, but they were fantastic again. And without incident, really proud of the community and the fact that if people did not just come down and view, they supported the fireworks. And we ended up in the black this year through our fundraising efforts for the July 4th fireworks, which is quite a feat. And so that's very good. So I just appreciate all the support from the council, from the community, and I look forward just to having great events like that to continue to draw the community together. Then just on another note, as many of you know, Officer Steve Pulling resigned from the department, took another job back in his hometown where he grew up, so going back home. Chief Story has promoted Officer Dan Livingston from our part-time corps to a full-time position. That he was there on the existing hiring list, and Dan will do a fine job as he continues on. And the department will look for a replacement for Dan in that part-time position. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Gilpin?
Very briefly, Silverman, before anyone asks, I'll volunteer.
By anyone, he means you, Harry.
We are taking deposition of Attorney Eric Bean on the 21st of this month at 10 o'clock. Eric is, depending upon who you ask, he is either the attorney for Mr. Silverman or a partner with Mr. Silverman. As you may have heard me mention previously, when Mr. Silverman himself testified, he repeatedly said, ask Eric, ask Eric, ask Eric, I'm not sure. So that deposition is scheduled, and hope to have some more to report on that after the 21st.
Thank you. Ms. Bigger?
Nothing really to add to my written report, just tying up all the year-end stuff and getting all of the budget prep ready.
Thank you very much. Any department heads have anything? No? Good. Let's move on to boards, commissions. What do you have for us, Ryan?
Historic, we haven't had a meeting since my last one, which was a month or two ago. And Hyatt, they have the Holly Area Schools Health and Enrollment Fair coming up on the 5th from 11 to 2. And that's about it.
Thank you. Let's just move it on right down the line.
Parks, we had our last meeting, or we had a meeting last Wednesday. We discussed sponsoring a 5K and or a fun run on the zombie apocalypse night on October 14th, I believe it is. So we're working on getting that put together, and then of course, last Thursday was our second music in the parks. We had a band called Surf's Up, surf music, guitars, good turnout. Appreciate everybody showing up, and we collected a few dollars in donations. I appreciate that. And we'll have another meeting in a month.
Thank you.
Wasn't that Saturday night?
What did I say, Thursday?
Thursday.
I meant Saturday. It was Saturday.
We've been here that long.
I didn't want anybody showing up on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
Mr. Olson?
No meetings, but the car show was, they had over 268 cars Wednesday.
Very
We
nice.
have a lot of our state cars tomorrow if they don't rain.
Very good. Mr. Cruikshank?
Planning's last meeting was canceled.
Ms. Heidel?
Community center meeting we just had today at 5:30. Classes are increasing. We had 4,700 people walk through the center through the month of June. Possible winter classes that are being talked about are photography class, a guitar class, some yoga classes. There's a model remote control airplane club in late fall. Continuing classes are chaos volleyball, a church through March. A traveling library class was held today. The Veterans Resource Center broke a record today. There were 20 people in one day, where the normal average is 4 to 5. So that was significant increase. The June numbers were significantly up from previous months. November 18th will be a resource fair for the Veterans Center, expecting 25 groups. And there's a play scheduled, August auditions, August 20 to 21, and the show will be held the last 2 weekends in October. The play is called Footlocker, written by our own Mr. Mishner.
Ms. Wilson?
Nothing to report from finance or personnel.
Mr. Shields, you have council comments?
Other than, attended the fireworks like with, Manager Walker, it was great to see all a lot of people attending, such a wonderful event.
Stan, Mr. Rankin? Nothing else. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot myself for DDA. We had a consideration of obtaining a 501c3 for the DDA. We also had a resignation of Ms. Janice Seeley. She will be missed. And we had a consideration of Mr. Cullis filling that vacancy. Now we'll go back to council comments. I'm sorry, I forgot myself.
On this, I'd like to make a motion for the council to completely get rid of medical marijuana in West Benton. That's my, I don't know if we can do it or not, if anybody would second it. I'd like to get rid of it. I go up to stores, I hear car shows, they don't want it in this town. And I'm just saying, I'm making a motion that just quit talking about it, get rid of it.
Okay.
I don't know where to go with that.
Well, there has to be a second. And then it's gonna second the motion.
I think it's because this is council comments and it's not
It's not for business.
the
Yeah, we're not doing
business, so.
Is that, I can do that, Chair, Mr. Walker?
No, it is permissible at this point. I mean, it's your other councilor's discretion on whether they want to act on it at this point or refer to a regular. If they do nothing, then your motion would die. It could be considered at another meeting, or they could act on it during council comments, as we have in the past.
I just made a motion because I hear it all over town, and if somebody would second it, it would be nice.
I don't think we're.
To just get rid of it, quit talking about it, eliminate it.
Here a second. Council comments from you, Mr. Christian?
No. Yes, I do have some comments. There's a couple of things. So other municipalities, I had heard before that there's about 200. So I wanted to give some statistics. There's 24,416 current patients in Oakland County. There are municipalities that have already adopted this ordinance. The first one on the map was Pinconning Township. They approved 25 grow facilities, 25 processing facilities, 10 dispensaries, 4 transport licenses, and 2 safety testing licenses. Just from the $5,000 application fees for those, they will get $30,000. They have the potential to gain up to $600,000 in their municipal budgets from that. Other municipalities that have adopted this ordinances, and I want you to think about this as I say this, does this change the perception of this town that you will visit there in the future? Weberville, Clark, Kalkaska, the village of Kingsley, Niles, Buchanan, Cockery Township. Acme is considering, Kalamazoo is considering, Hazel Park has adopted, Lapeer has adopted, and Warren has adopted. So those are big cities and small towns. I don't think that gives us the right to say that Holly should not jump on board on certain things. Those local places are jumping on there. A couple of comments that I wrote throughout the presentation is a lot of people are saying, why shouldn't we give it to the big drug companies? Well, I would rather keep it local and give it to somebody who lives in town or close by instead of Pfizer. Veterans are actually looking into ecstasy as part of their treatment for PTSD for their patients. You can look that up and Google it. They have already given the okay to start using medical marijuana going forward. So MMDA, which is ecstasy, they are giving to patients in a study and is showing positive results for PTSD. Drug cartels are also already feeling the effects of legalization in those other states, those 8 to 9 states that have done it already. They're catching more at the border and they're sending less over the border because obviously they're buying it locally. I also have a few letters from random residents, the people that, again, the perception. So I want you to think of 10 people in town that you know that you don't think smoke marijuana either medicinally or recreationally, and I will bet you a mortgage payment that 4 to 5 of them do. Here's one. Words cannot express how medical marijuana and cannabis is changing, it has been a life-changing savior for me. However, I'll do my best. In March of 2011, I crashed my dirt bike and left me laying in the dirt paralyzed from the waist down. After I had come out of surgery, I was told that I had broken my back with a spinal cord injury and a very small chance of ever walking again. That alone, it was a lot to take, not only for myself, but my family. I could still feel all the way down to my toes in both legs. But there was a blessing in its curse, as I could feel all the unbearable nerve damage and pain from the crash. I was immediately put on a pharmaceutical regimen of several different painkillers, muscle relaxers, and nerve blockers just to keep the pain level tolerable. I had muscle spasms that were so violent they could throw me out of my bed or my wheelchair. I was miserable, living each day as a slave to these pharmaceutical medications and monthly doctor appointments to get prescriptions to be able to function on the daily. I did not want to live the rest of my life taking medications that eventually would cause damage to my internal organs, let alone the ups and downs of my mood swings from the meds that were not easy for my family to handle. I was at my wit's end until a woman who was in a similar situation came to me and had asked if I had tried cannabis to help with pain and spasms. It has been 5 years of pharma meds, and I tried to get off of them, but my body wouldn't go into orbit and spasming pain that would end up in the ER. She has suggested that I try cannabis capsules, and I was hesitant, but I was willing to try anything for a better quality of life. 5 years of every day, all taking prescription meds. It took me nearly 1 week of taking cannabis capsules, and I was completely off the prescription medication. It has been 8 months, and I have never felt better. I can also walk with a cane now. Medical marijuana has changed my life. Another anonymous person that does not want to speak.
Dave, did you get the email from my wife Lori?
I have not checked my email today. First, it should have never been illegal in the first place. Blame it on the little Native American in my blood. Medicinally, I don't even care if it works or not. If someone thinks it does and they feel better, it's good enough for me. It's not a bridge drug. There's no such thing. There are people who choose to do it more. If people overindulge when it impairs their judgment on the job or operating a vehicle, same as alcohol. Charge them. The proposed government regulations are excessive and will create unnecessary jobs, red tape, and expense. If you're under 18 or 21, same as the alcohol and tobacco. Anyone should be free to grow it, just like corn. Anyone should be able to sell it, just like carrots, except to kids. Summary, I really don't care much either way, the end. I have one more. I'm a 4-year medical marijuana patient. I turned to the Michigan Medical Marijuana Program on the advice of several medical doctors that I am under the care of and use it successfully as a way to manage my chronic and disabling condition. As a patient, I find it increasingly difficult to obtain my medication going through a personal caregiver, and I have no interest in driving to Flint or Detroit for a dispensary. I would prefer to have closer options, but being that my options are limited, I have turned to a caregiver in Clarkston, the closest I can find someone to legitimate and able to meet my medical needs. This unfortunately means the money that I would prefer to spend locally goes elsewhere. It also means that when I am extremely ill, I must have my caregiver drive it out to me rather than being able to turn to someone local. Going without is not an option unless I am inpatient receiving specialized care. I cannot speak for others' needs, but I am unable to use most other types of pain control successfully without risking further damage to my health. So access to medical marijuana is truly vital for me. I would love to see the village ease the regulations surrounding medical marijuana community. For me, having other options to access closer to home would be a huge benefit. In fact, any increased options for patients like myself to have safe, reliable access to the medicine that is so necessary to many of us is benefit, in my opinion. There are also truth that expanding the framework of medical marijuana community and Lent Holly benefiting financially as to any other countries and states have lessening said regulations, restricting individuals or companies affiliated with the medical marijuana program. This can be, in my eyes, nothing but a benefit as well for our community. So, Bob, you're saying you hear the opposite. I'm hearing that polar opposite.
I would say there's 200 people in town might like that. What about all the rest of the residents? I had a guy that smoked marijuana work for me. Scratched my car, ruined my fence, ruined my tractor. Every time I come over the house, he was just buzzed out of his mind. I fired him.
Well, you should have fucked him for all
I'm just
this.
saying that.
No question.
People.
But all these other people are on the underground. There's
But
6,000
maybe you got 10 or
residents.
15 or 20, but I'm talking about the whole village, and I talked to a lot of people too.
Okay, we're not gonna argue this.
I mean,
We're discussing, we're not arguing.
I'm not arguing with you, I'm just saying it's wrong for the village. Yeah, you too.
I'm done.
Okay, second.
The overwhelming message that I heard tonight is, don't make this about money, this is about our community, and allowing dispensaries would be sending a message to our youth. I kept a running tally of what people were saying. There were 11 that were against it and 2 that were persuasive and wanted to allow it. The data sources are conflicting, and so I think that as an elected member, we go with what the community is saying to us. And for me, that means that community does not want it. So that's what I'm
Second my
saying
motion.
right now.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you for keeping this civil and to keep an open mind. And if you have questions, research them. There were several things brought up tonight that I myself, I wanted to research on. And I appreciate that. Now, item number 2, Mr. Walker, the consideration of entering into.
Sure, and so there are very specific instances in which the council can enter into a closed session. One of those instances is to discuss attorney-client privilege communication. Mr. Gilmer has provided such a letter to us, so we are requesting that we enter into closed session to discuss that letter and to have Ms. Bigger and myself be in attendance at that closed session.
Let's do that.
I'll make that motion if we enter into closed session with a 5-minute recess.
Or-
Prior to beginning.
All of us. Everybody.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.